Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. We have a very special edition of this week's Aid Station. We're traveling to Sheffield in England to meet Danny Bent, who is an incredibly inspiring human being. He's the co-founder of One Run. It's an amazing story. 157,000 people, as it stands right now, are going to be running in a 24-hour period in every country in the world. Danny, welcome to the show. So excited to have this conversation.
Chris, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Oh man, it's just incredible. And not only have you created this amazing event, you just ooze happiness, excitement, enthusiasm, passion. You were rated as one of the 100 happiest people in the UK. Tell us a bit about your background and how you got that moniker and a little bit of your story.
Well, I think everything in my life starts from when I was a child, as it does for everyone, I guess. And I like pinpoint one moment when I came home from school. I'm dyslexic, I'm hyperactive, and I was getting lots of trouble at school, and my books would all get covered in red pen, correcting the mistakes. And I went home and I spoke to my dad, and I was like, "This is what the other kids are doing. This is what I'm doing." And my dad just said to me, the wisest words I ever think could be given to a child, the greatest gift. And he just said, don't worry about what anyone else is doing and just be the best version of yourself. And I think that is the kind of the bottom base of this kind of pyramid of my life, that they just filled that whole bit with that statement, and everything else is built upon that. And you talk about being one of the 100 happiest people. That's because I'm just being myself. I'm not trying to be anyone else. I'm not striving for anything more than who I am. And I think that is, for me, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. Like, why would I want to be anyone else? Why would I aspire to be anything other than just me? And that, that's an idea that's been cultivated, and I've done wild adventures all over the world. I've cycled from London to India, I've pogoed across Togo, I've been on the BBC, all these sorts of things. They haven't come because that's what I wanted to do. They've come because I was just like purely in tune with what's going on in my heart and in my soul and in my gut. And when it said that's what you should be doing, I was like, all right, let's go. And if you just got to follow those feelings, it's not like hacking through a jungle trying to find your path. Like, your path is just there, and it's to be you, and that's all you can do. So it takes all the pressure off, I guess.
I was just going to say that must take all the pressure off, just being present, listening to your heart, following your passion. What an incredible story. And talking about that, you were out this weekend, you did a duathlon. How did you find the time to do that when you've got this incredible event coming up? Tell us about, apart from the duathlon you did this weekend, what's happening in your life right now, as I think we're now 4 days away from the event.
Yeah, so I mean, the running has always been this like super powerful thing in my life. It's my mum and dad were both runners, and I actually just assumed that everyone went running every day because my mum and dad did. And then that kind of feeds into you, and then you start doing it every day, and you just can't get away from it. So this running community, like, it's amazing, because like I love the fact you put on trainers, you put on a pair of shorts, and like everything's equal after that, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're doing for career or everything. Like, put those trainers on, you're all equal. And that's been one of the things, like, running as we ran across America. We raised $500,000 doing that, and I found love, friendship, and this community has supported me. And I love the way we can use this community to kind of bring the whole world together, not just runners. And so what I'm doing at the moment is One Run Global Relay. It's everyone all over the world is invited to take part. It's completely free, and all we're doing is running at 9 a.m. on October the 16th, Saturday, October the 16th. That's it in its most simplest form. But what we've done is make sure we've got runners from every single country in the world, and the whole, the point beneath all this is just for a bit of global unity, to bring this world, this beautiful planet, all these incredible humans on it, just bring them all just a tiny weeny bit closer together. Like, we're not expecting to create landslides of kind of crazy love and all that sort of stuff. But if we can just get one or two people to be like, oh wow, we are just all the same, well, no matter where we're from, no matter what religion we've got, no matter what we're doing in life, that person and I are doing exactly the same thing. So, and we've got, oh yeah, like you say, we've got 157,000 people all over the globe taking part. And we've got a little map on the website. The website is onerun.global. We've got a little map on that pinpoints everyone all over the world. Like we've got 3,000 people in Nigeria, we've got 1,000 people in India, Malaysia. I think we've got about 15 people in Syria doing it. We've got people in Afghanistan, North Korea. We only got one person in North Korea, but that's all it took. And like anywhere you can think of, all these Pacific islands, Caribbean islands, we've got one runner at least on that island and taking part. So we're all going to run at 9 a.m. The beauty of it is it kind of turns into a relay, because at the first country to experience 9 a.m. on Saturday, 16th October is Kiribati. It's a small island in the Pacific Islands, and in the Pacific. And so they start running first. By the time they finish running, by the time it's 10 a.m. there, it's 9 a.m. in New Zealand. The guys in New Zealand are running. By the end of that hour, we're into Australia, Southeast Asia, India, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, South America, and then until you get back round and you get round to American Samoa, which is the last country to be running in that kind of time zone. So we've got 24 hours of running. It's like the fireworks on New Year's Eve there, but the difference is that fireworks are in our trainers. It's super awesome to be part of. It's really, really simple. Obviously, it's a big beast to kind of manage behind the scenes, but it just feels so right. And when you feel so proud of something you are creating, hard work almost becomes a little bit easy.
Wow, what incredible. And you were telling me on the call the other day that you have a virtual baton, so people can literally look on their phone, pick up the baton, and they will know. So Chris Robb will be running and he'll pass the baton, and someone in Malaysia will know that I'm passing them the baton. Tell us a little bit how that works. I mean, what a wonderful concept.
Yeah, we've created this. We did do this last year. We had 15,000. We were so pleased with 15,000 people last year. We're tenfold bigger now. But people said it would be really nice to track our runs. It would be really nice to have some sort of connection between the people before and after you. So we've created this app, and it's amazing. You can. I mean, I'm sure most of your listeners have seen Strava or track Map My Run or whatever it is that people use, and but we've created one of those, which is specifically ours. It's one run global. You can find it on the App Store, or at the Play Store or whatever it is that other people use. And but the beauty of it is, so you can track your run. When it's getting close to 9 a.m., you will get a message to say that someone in the time zone before you, it's fairly random who gets selected, but a random name is picked from our database, and that person is going to pass you the baton. Wow. And then you click start on yours, you run for an hour, you move your body for an hour, or however long you want to do. Really, we're not forcing you to run for an hour, because we want everyone to take part. But at the end of that time, you say ready to pass the baton. You pass the baton, and it will pass it to someone in the time zone after you. So for me, I'm in the UK, so I'll get passed the baton from someone, say in France, Jean-Pierre in France, and then when I pass it on, I might be passing it to someone in Ghana or in Africa, someone in the time zone after ours. And that is all. They're just the tiny little touches, the attentions to bit of attention to detail that actually make us feel connected. And certain people will be out running on their own. We've got a big run in London. We've got a few other ones around the world where people have organized big group meetups, basically. Yeah. And but it doesn't really matter. You can still be connected to the community if you download the app, and then and obviously that's free as well. This is all about getting people active, bringing them together. It's not this kind of it's not really a business model. It's more just this driving force, like we were saying at the beginning, this passion within me to bring people together, and so that's what I'm doing.
Tell me a little bit more, or take a bit of a step back. This all started, the first idea of creating this started after the Boston bombing. Is that correct? You decided that you'd get people together in a relay to run across the US.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, we, like, the Boston bombing, people, 4 people were killed, lots of people lost their limbs, and it just felt like this. This is my community. This is the community that's given me so much. Been attacked, and I just thought, I can't have that. And even though I'm here in the UK, I was actually living in Devon at the time. I'd sitting in my kitchen drinking a cup of tea in my running gear. I'd just been for a run, and then hearing that of the suffering, and you hear the anger of the people of America, like, what can we do about this almost? And I just decided I wanted to do something about it, and came up with this idea to create an actual relay where people are actually passing the baton from one person to another. We broke the distance from LA on the west coast to Boston on the east coast, that the distance between them, 3,300 miles, broke it into 10-mile segments, popped it on a website, shared it on social media, and what we hoped would be a kind of sign of solidarity, really, more than anything else, turned into this movement that started completely and utterly changing the lives of the people involved in it. It created this community in America that still lives on now. People are still going to visit each other there, and they say that when they meet up, it's like a reunion with people you've never met before, because they know each other so well from this community we built up. And we needed 330 runners to make it happen, each running 10 miles. And the idea is that they pass that baton continuously for about 25 days across the states, and then it arrives in Boston. But and we just, if we raised a few $1,000s, we would have been super chuffed. But what actually happened is thousands of people signed up, and we ended up raising almost $600,000 for the people affected by the bombings.
Wow.
And I love this in so many different ways, in that we had this tiny idea that we thought would be like way under the radar. We needed 330 people to make it happen, but we went at it with determination and energy and passion. And a tiny idea, if you leave it in your head, ends up as nothing. A tiny idea, if you approach it with all that vigor, can become $600,000 for charity. But and more than that, it was that coming, the actual baton handovers were so powerful for people. The people would burst into tears when they saw the baton come in, or when they were handed it. They're just going to stare at it with tears dropping from their cheeks onto this baton. And what are we all follow the stories that go on in America, all over the world, that we're not integrating fully. We're not treating everyone with exactly the same amount of respect, dependent on where you're from, or color of your skin, or what country you're from, all this sort of stuff. We're all human beings. We're made up of something like 8 trillion cells. We're so incredibly similar. Any tiny difference should be celebrated with absolute power and force. And so it causes people to pass a baton between 2 people that might not normally have a conversation. They might share a handshake, they might share a hug, but that hug or handshake is a tiny little acorn that could potentially grow into a tree of love and respect. So that's
and radiate out into communities and impact other people. Wow, what an amazing experience. And now 147,000 by the time it starts on Saturday. I'd be happy to bet my life that you're probably going to get to 200,000. I hope you are. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've overcome to get to where you are here.
Oh man, I mean, the whole thing came from a challenge. I think myself and the team, a very tiny team that we work on this with, the beauty of what we have is that if things aren't going right, we find that tiny positive from what's happening to turn that into we use it for good, And so this whole thing came from us thinking we were going to do a continuous running relay around the world, like we did across America, physically passing a baton. And then obviously COVID strikes, everything changes. And at that point, our world was falling to pieces, because we're like, oh my goodness, I was kind of laughing to myself when I was talking about the tears dropping onto the baton, like your sweat dripping onto the baton. It's like, that is not the thing you want to be passing from one person to another over national boundaries during a pandemic. So we had to, obviously that had to be changed. And luckily I was friends with someone who was keeping up to date on what was happening in China and other places, and was like, Dan, you are needing to change this. So we got a little head start on everyone else. And the world relay, let's call it, where you pass a baton all around the world, that I was only going to go to 40 different countries, because obviously it has to take a certain path.
Yeah.
And this COVID allowed us to visit every country. So, and that's how the event turned a little bit more virtual. We're trying our hardest to make it connect people within it. So we don't really like the word virtual, but that's kind of what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think other than that, things we kind of follow this kind of energy that is around us, and the runners have kind of set this, like the fact that we have an app now is because the runners wanted one. The fact that we're doing it in schools is because people were writing to us saying, this would be awesome to have at my kid's school. And we're like, all right. And they were like, can you develop a few lesson plans? Can you do a few assemblies? And we've recorded all those. We've created all those. We created for one school. We may as well give them to all the other schools as well. So we've got schools all over the world taking part as well. And so, I mean, I guess, if you were kind of doing a big leadership chat right now, you'd be kind of saying, nothing is a problem. You use whatever's happening in your life or in your business to influence where you go forward. Because if you keep battling against the same thing, then you're wasting your time, because that's not the path that you're given. I guess it's that I'm sounding like they're on repeat. It's just like, follow what's right. Kind of, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, makes perfect sense. Amazing. Danny, as always on the aid station, the time flies by, and I always love to end with an inspiring story. You're an incredibly inspiring human being. I'm sure you've you've already shared so many inspiring things from the relay across America. The fact that you're in every country in the world, war-torn places where people are starving, and all sorts of everything in between. One inspirational snippet that you'd like to leave us with, a particular story or something that'll really inspire people that are listening?
Well, let's start with the number one, the only one that matters, and that is going back to quote my dad: be you as hard as you can be, because that you is the best you can be. That is the number one thing. But I mean, I could tell you about. I mean, we had people who were involved in the blacks, who had their legs blown to pieces during the bombing, take part in that in our event across America. And in fact, one of them was in a wheelchair. This is 11 weeks after the bombing. He'd come out of hospital and he was already revisiting that finish line. This is probably my proudest moment of all time. And his daughter had been running in the marathon. She'd been stopped at 23 miles in, and she and so she was moved away by the police and said, there's been an incident, we're stopping the marathon. She was carrying the baton from 23 miles to 26.2 miles for us, with 1,000 people behind her, massive carnival atmosphere. And at that finish line, she passed it to her father, who was the guy who was involved in the blast, who had his legs blown to pieces, who was in the wheelchair, and she pushed him across the finish line.
Wow.
It's a more elaborate story, but he looked up at me at that moment and said, Dan, this is when I start to heal. And that statement is locked in my heart whenever I, just like everyone else, I may be one of the 100 happiest people in the UK, but I still have my moments of doubt, questioning, downness, all that sort of stuff. And I just have to, when I'm questioning I work so hard to make all this stuff happen. And sometimes when things aren't going right, you kind of like, I just open up that little box and I just hear those words, then this is when I start to heal. And that is enough for me. And that came from just trying to help people. And I think that you can experience that on a smaller level just by being kind to people on a day-to-day basis, holding the door open, looking after the intern at work, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I helped him heal, but he has given me a line that keeps me strong for the rest of my life. How cool is that?
That's incredible. What a way to end, Danny. So wonderful. We could talk for hours, and I'm sure we will continue to connect. I'm so excited to see how it grows, and no doubt this is going to become a global phenomenon. As you mentioned, overcome one challenge over here from COVID, and look at what it's helped you create by harnessing that, being your best person, your best part of yourself, being your best self, in your exact words, your dad's words. Yeah, just so many inspirational pieces out of this. I wish you all the very best, and thanks so much for making your time in what's obviously a very busy week for you as well. All the very best to you and your team. Thank you so much.
Cheers, Chris. It's great being on.